like to introduce Dr. Carlos Grant and his team. If you guys don't mind coming up to the podium, we'll get your presentation pulled up here and let you guys further introduce yourselves. But well, maybe I'm gonna have to paste this into the browser here before I keep talking. But you guys have approved a contract for these gentlemen to mentor some of our principals in the district. You see Principal Fitton in the back. I don't think Tudisha's here, is she? No, but so they've been mentoring Principal Fitton and Tunisia May at Liberty High School. And so we were super excited to have these guys in the district. I got to spend some time with them the last time they were here. I think we have a lot of potential about ability to work together moving forward, but we wanted to just give them a minute to talk about their work, some of the things they're seeing in Iowa City, and to give you a chance to ask them any questions that you might want. So Carlos, we kind of wanted to get him back here in February so we didn't forget about what that Iowa weather was like. He was in Cedar Rapids for a period of time, and we thought he might be enjoying it too, a little too comfortable out there, and teasing him because they had some problems, I think, in O'Hare last night, you said, right? So, yeah. So, all right, welcome. Yep.
Appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Carlos Grant, member of BOLT Leadership Network. I'm also the proud principal of Wade Hampton High School in Greenville, South Carolina, and which is a large high school, roughly 2,000 students, very diverse school, and very proud to be here. I'll let the other gentlemen introduce themselves.
Good evening. My name is Damon Qualls, and I am the proud principal of Monteview Elementary School. We take great pride in being the only Title I school in our district to earn and maintain an excellent rating issued by the State Department of Ed for South Carolina. We also have the highest ESOL Hispanic population in our district. Extremely proud to be here and share a little bit of the work that we've done with some extraordinary administrators.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Edward Anderson. I am the executive director of an initiative called On Track Greenville in Greenville, South Carolina, where our aim is to keep students on track to graduate from high school on time. We look at our indicators of academics, behavior, and attendance for our students. Prior to that, I was a middle school principal at the highest poverty middle school in Greenville, South Carolina, an academic coach at the district level as well.
Good evening. My name is Pharrell Thomas. I have over 20 years of experience in education. I am the proud principal of Gray Court Owens School. I live in Greenville, South Carolina, but I work in a small rural school district in Lawrence, South Carolina, where I have a combination school of K through 8 school with rural students.
Once again, thank you for having us tonight, Board of Directors. We want to give you an update about the work we've been doing here in Iowa City Schools. First and foremost, this induction program is a 2-year kind of focus where we're looking at combining principal expertise and helping up-and-coming new leaders in districts really find their footing and offer really good onboarding processes for them. Like I said, this 2-year process, we really are very intentional about the onboarding and transitioning for them going into their first year and then what their second year looks like. We've outlined specific goals for this type of success. You know, one, we want to get very, very clear and very specific about the Iowa leadership standards that we know about. We want to make sure principals have these very good best practices that are evidence-based, that are tried and true. They're working with actual practicing principals right now. We want to create a safe space for them to be able to think about authentic thoughts and to be able to share the frustrations and the joys of being a principal all in a safe space that really offers that type of mentorship. And that last part is very clear, that mentorship, having that one-on-one engagement throughout the year with someone who understands the role is a very key component. Those goals are very clear for us, and we have a way of measuring those goals to see what success looks like for us. In that onboarding, you know, prior to the first start of a year for principals, a lot of things have to get done. A lot of transitional type of things for them. And so we're going to be very intentional about making it clear about certain timelines and dates and, you know, what do your first 45 days look like? What's your next 90 days look like? What is your mid-year, your end of year looking like? Part of that onboarding part of your year. And then transitioning into your year 2 of understanding really big systems approaches to change agents within your building. Identifying what those important cultural things need to take place beyond understanding your district policies, but how does it influence and trickle down to what's most meaningful for your staff and for your students. The mentorship that we mentioned before is very, very key. You know, having the ability for them to shoot ideas off of a practicing principal, to be able to pick up a phone and to text, and to have monthly meetings and in-person opportunities like we're doing today. And we spent time in the building with Tanisha and with Kim Fitton are just priceless experiences for a new principal. It's priceless experience for a veteran principal, but certainly for an induction principal as well. This program that we've developed is really intentional to make sure we develop a cohort of individuals that can be able to share in that safe space with each other on an ongoing basis. And so those three things together, you find a nice little sweet spot of safe space with instructional leadership and a personalized approach. That Venn diagram right in the middle is the sweet spot that we're trying to capture for leaders. We know that leadership is important. We know that it's one of the most impactful things for student development and growth. And the more that we can engage people to want to be in that space and to stay in that space is vitally important. So we're very proud to work with these two dynamic leaders, Kim Fitton at Northwest Middle and Tanisha May, assistant principal at North Liberty. Two dynamic leaders you have here in the school district. They should be applauded for the work they're doing, for the coaches that they're developing and cultivating under the leadership of Matt Degner and his team. It should be commended about that.
All right. So you cannot fake culture and climate. When you walk into a school, whether it's in Iowa or South Carolina, you understand the impact and the energy that school leadership has. And so in January, of course, the nation pauses to celebrate School Board Recognition Month, right? Well, it's February, and we're going to continue that celebration and applaud you all, because what we've seen in these two schools during our time visiting, if we could take that and duplicate it across the country, we would be in a much, much better place. We said as soon as we had the opportunity to visit in October, if there were a bold school of distinction, if we could identify components which makes a bold school, each of these schools has them, whether it is the murals that you see walking down the hallway as you enter the building, whether it is the intentionality around using the mascot and creating acronyms that students and staff refer to celebrate and acknowledge diversity, whether it is an intentional focus in diversifying literature, be it in the school's library or in classroom libraries. All of these efforts didn't just happen overnight. It happened with some very intentional leadership. And so for that, we want to say thank you. Who knew Iowa City Community School District in the heart of the country is leading the way around diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts? So thank you for that. Yes.
And I'll just end by saying that one of the things that we know to be true, utilizing a diplomas now model and for kids to graduate on time, is that you have to have a strong climate and culture before you have anything else. As I indicated earlier, attendance, behavior, and academics are the key indicators for graduating students on time. But none of that is important, as mentioned here today, if students don't feel a sense of belonging, if they don't feel a sense of agency, if they don't feel a sense of connection in a school. It doesn't matter how smart a student is, how successful they are at sports, if they do not want to be in that building, if they do not want to be in a classroom, if they feel like someone does not care about them in a particular place, and that is true for adults as well, then we are not doing the best for our students. So again, I applaud your efforts because, as Mr. Qualls stated, all of what we've seen in these schools, all those pieces, create that ABC, the little ABCs, not academics, behavior, and course attendance, but it impacts agency, belonging, and connection. And there are some key pieces that are being done very, very well in your school. So thank you.
And then finally, we just want to say that we look forward to continued work here in Iowa Community School District. We're going to be back in our buildings tomorrow,
Yes.
Going back to do the real work we have to get done as well, but we know that the work remains here. Congratulations on your work you're doing around HRS, high reliability schools, and the work you're doing in level one in developing that culture and climate and the baseline for security and safety for all kids. It's commendable. So thank you again for tonight, and thank you, Superintendent Degner.
Thank you, guys. I don't know if you guys have a minute, if the board has any questions or any follow-up for them, but we would want to say thank you to these guys. I mean, it's been a great experience, and it's proved especially valuable. Dr. Grant talked about opportunities for future work. We've talked about some of that, about how to expand the potential network of folks that they could work with and could help us continue to develop. And ties into, some of our grow your own conversations and things like that we've been having. So I know they would be happy to answer a couple questions if you have a couple.
If you don't mind, Lisa.
And if not, that's fine too.
Well, I'm really glad that you mentioned HRS in your comments. And I would like to hear your thoughts on how that fits into the work you're doing as mentors. And also, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, we completed a portrait of a graduate exercise here, and which we produced some very persuasive and interesting and inspiring concepts that we need to try to carry forth into our educational efforts. And I don't know if you're aware of that that kind of planning process. But if you are, I'd love to hear your
Well,
thoughts on that.
your focus, your intentionality and focus around HRS is in the right place. Particularly starting with 1.1 in the HRS model, because you have to have a foundation. It's a clear intentionality, at least is what we see in our experiences, that you can't even begin to talk about engagement in classrooms and high-level curriculum and academic discussion and student engagement until you have the basics in place. Having good structures that are about consistency and language and expectations are the models that you need to aspire to. And so the work you're doing with that is highly important. We know you're moving from HRS 1.1 to 1.4 right now, working in academic discussion area and putting in good structures for collaboration, particularly around your PLC models. And so your focus is, in our opinion, our professional opinion, is in the right space.
Thanks very much.
I just wanted to mention first that Principal Fitton provided some information to us at a recent meeting, and we were just blown away. She's such an excellent professional. And so as an outsider, I mean, you guys are all working together, but I had not met her, and she has just done an amazing job at that school. It makes me proud to be, I was already proud to be a part of this district, but it made me prouder to be a part of this district. And I'm glad she's here. The question I would have is, so you guys come from the outside of Iowa, and when you see a school like the one Principal Fitton has just really brightened and just improved in so many ways, what is your observation as people not from Iowa about some of the key things that took, or any kind of sort of generalized observations so that this community and this state can see, the magic that can happen?
Well, I'll mention one, and gentlemen, you can jump in. I mean, from day one, you can tell that there's intentionality in the building. There's a common language throughout the building about expectations, and everyone's singing the same song. I can recall the first day we stepped into the building, the bell rang for class transitions, and students are moving throughout the halls. And as soon as that minute bell rang, everyone was doing the right thing about how to get kids into class. Even students knew the language. They have a matrix about what the expectations are, and everyone's doing that. So that's number one. It's a common thread of language in the building that maybe hasn't always been there, right? It's come to a point where it's like, okay, we have some consistency around language, and that's just great. And I think the leadership that Ms. Fitton has imposed in that trickles down to her leadership team, and like I said, to everyone else. Are there other examples that you want to point to, gentlemen?
I just think it's remarkable. You may not know this, but she actually attended the middle school she's now leading. So it speaks to the commitment that she has for the school district and the commitment that she has for the community in which produced her. So that is the ultimate sign, in my opinion, of achievement, for sure.
I would say one of the ways that we define a bold leader, and she is a bold leader, is creating safe spaces for people in the building, but also investing in the personal growth of herself and the professional growth of others. That's very apparent every time we're in the building with her and every time we speak with her. She's making those key investments, she's asking the right questions, and to do that, you have to have a sense of vulnerability and transparency. And one thing that I've learned about Kim in the last 6 or 7 months, she's very transparent, and she's very honest. And it takes that looking in the mirror all the time, constantly being self-aware of where she is, where her staff is, to really get to the right answers, the right solutions. And so it becomes easier for all of us really to work with her and with a school like that when there's a lot of transparency and vulnerability and honesty. And so I think that's one of the things that I have appreciated about this journey so far.
I don't know if I have any comments or questions. You know, we do the work in and out for years, and there's a lot of intentionality behind it, and but it's helpful and validating to have folks come in from outside and recognize it, and to know that we're on, you know, with HRS and these other things, that, you know, there's a common thread through this whole system in the whole country, right? And it's the things you're talking about with common language and that kind of dedication. So thank you all for coming here. I appreciate it. And probably, I think, as educators, folks don't pat themselves on the back enough or toot their own horn. And I think, especially in this day and age of what we're looking at in Iowa, as far as you know, what we're going to have to deal with a pretty substantial voucher program, we're going to need to learn to do that a little bit more and kind of put it out there and you know, put our accomplishments on our sleeves. So thank you all for highlighting that and your work with our leaders here.